Yeah, the question was, what if your number comes up between two? Well, it's not really between two. It's much closer to A. Figure the one that's most closest to. The only other thing you can do is try the calculation again with a different, instead of using 4 positions, use 2. But for me, what I would do is use this reasoning process to figure out what formula to use. Do the calculation to the best of your knowledge. Mark the closest answer to what you got. Mark the question, and go to the next question. And then when you have time at the end of the exam, then revisit it. But don't get hung up and spend 20 minutes trying to calculate it to the penny. You know, I hate to see you do that. Do your best to get as close, and then come back and mark it if you have. Before we talked about it, the answer there is A. Question 6. Ooh, cursor's crazy today. Okay, here we go. Which one of the following has the lowest present value? Okay, there's 2 ways you can do this also. You can go through the long way, again, around the barn, and use that present value formula, which is the future value divided by 1 plus r to the n, or let's just look at these and try to make sense of it. Which one has the lowest present value? And the way when I looked at this, and I always try, especially if it's a wordy question like this, if there's a question like 5 where you're given numbers, you know you have to calculate it out. No way of getting around that. But in something like this, I would look at my answers first. A and B and C and D are very similar. A and B are talking about 5 years today. One's assuming 6%, one's assuming 9% interest. The other one has 10 years. One's assuming 6, one's assuming 9. So it's going to either be 5 years or 10 years. If I'm looking for the lowest present value, the longer time goes on, the smaller your present value would be, okay, because you have more time to accumulate interest. So right there, that tells me it's not the 5-year, it's the 10-year. And then if I look at my interest rate, one's growing by 6 and one's growing by 9. So that tells me that it's D. Now, if you go through and calculate it out, you might want to try calculating B and D, or calculating A and C, if you weren't sure if it was 5 or 10 years, or you weren't sure if it was a 6 or 9%. Do 2 of the ones that are similar, and that should help clue you in. Just to be double checking, if you have the time, go ahead and use the future value formula. It won't take you about 2 seconds to calculate. But I'm just trying to show you that you don't have to go through that. You can reason it out. The answer there is D, slide 17. Okay? Okay, so there you go on that one. I'm going to skip question 7 because question 7 and question 25 are the same, only 25 is much better written. And it is a tricky question, but we're going to hit that at the end. Okay, assignment, question 8. A young professional made a $5,000 investment. The investment earns a compound interest of 7% annually. At the end of 5 years, the investment is worth how much? So here's what clued me in. At the end of 5 years, that means I'm using a future value formula. And it's annually, so we know it's not any kind of a semi-annual or any of those kind of complications in the question. It's annually, and I'm looking to take my present value, which is 5,000, and I multiply it by 1.07 to the 5th power. And that becomes 7,012.76. Now, on these problems, you do not have to calculate it the long way. They're giving you present value tables. You can go to the present value table, look at the 7% interest